Now, all these guys like Peterson, Vervaeke, the whole crew, they all presume evolution,
Yeah.
but they also seem to be coming at it from a certain perspective that there's also a little more to reality than they're not materialist reductionists.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
guess is another way to say it, which is a gateway possibly to opening back up to something that's transcendent, which John Vervaeke is openly intending to do. And because religion is seen as this thing that precipitates 9/11 events, you have Vervaeke and Jordan Hall actively engaged in these conversations about a religion that's not a religion, which I think is a wonderful endeavor to undergo. Like right now, if you're a Christian, it's very intuitive to, thus saith the Lord, and that makes our religion. Well, what if you had to generate from scratch the wisdom that you think God possesses, but you didn't have God to get it from? What would you do?
Right.
I told Paula yesterday. I don't know if I should say this online, but I said I think they should take all the presidential candidates, put them all on a deserted island, and give them each 100 naked adults, and that's all they have, kind of like Naked and Afraid, and say, "Build your society. Show me what it looks like."
Mm,
And give me 6 months of that, or maybe 6 years of that, and then
I'll vote.
something like that, and then whatever kind of whoever does the best with their 100 people, they they get something out of that. And I feel like I was tying that to whatever I was saying a minute ago, but I totally lost what I was saying.
You were at the emergence of the buddies and how they had gotten us to at least have the opportunity to take a step back.
So yeah, my challenge to Christians, I think, is to imagine that you have to generate the wisdom of God for a religion that's not a religion. Imagine you had to make up an ethical and moral way of being without having a God, without specifically having a biblical God to invoke. Like you had to sell, like it's more moral to do XYZ than this because, and then you have to make your case. Like in
Yeah.
church, I can just say, "Thus saith the Lord," and that kind of settles it for the entire audience that's there. Well, what
Yeah.
if there's no "Thus saith the Lord" to refer to? How
Right.
do I present my idea as better than alternative ideas?
So
What's the wisdom there?
so let's invoke some basic Plato here. What's more moral? Doing it because you've been told to do it, or doing it because it is truly good, regardless of whether you were told or not told, which is more
Right,
moral.
right, right. So yeah, I was having a conversation recently with somebody who was they I think they were trying to say that Christians are more moral because we do things because we love God and atheists aren't. And I'm like, well, actually they make the opposite argument. If they help somebody, it's because they have genuine empathy for them and want them to do better if an atheist does.
Yeah.
Whereas if a Christian helps somebody, it's because they're getting brownie points with Magic Sky Daddy, and they would just as soon have committed genocide against them if that would have been the command they think
Right.
they were told.
Right.
Which one has more empathy and which one should be valued more? Personally, I think the religion that's not a religion endeavor that Hall and Vervaeke are engaged in is beautiful and amazing. And I know my stage 3 fundamentalist audience members would think that that is some kind of absolute blasphemy to say something like that, to equate such things.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that Christians who are serious, we owe it to ourselves and to the rest of society to get back to the generative aspects of wisdom and morality as if there were no God to get them from, and that to demonstrate the why. And I was just having a conversation today. I had lunch with a few people who are interested in spiritual growth, and that whole question of why, like, okay, this is the thing to, even if like society passes down, your parents tell you should do this, your parents tell you should do this. After a few generations, we forget why.
Yes.
Have you heard
Yes.
the story about the woman who cuts off the end of the ham when she puts it in the oven? This woman cuts off the end of the ham, puts it in the oven, and they ask her, "Why do you do that?" She's, "Well, we, my mother always taught me to do that." And so, okay, then you ask the mother, "Why do you do it?" And they ask, and she said, "Well, my mother taught me to do it." And then they go ask the grandmother, and then, "Why did you cut off the end of the ham? Why do you bake them that way?" And she says, "Because my pan was too short." So at some point in time, we lose why the thing is being done.
Right.
And maybe if you have a longer pan, you don't need to cut off the end of the ham anymore.
Yep.
Like, what are how have the conditions changed? There's so many things in the Old Testament that we certainly don't do anymore. Even Christians today, how much more has changed, and where do we get the wisdom from to like decide that maybe we don't need to cut off the end of the ham anymore? Maybe we
Yeah.
get a bigger pan.